Picture this. You are at the beach on the first genuinely hot day of summer. The sand is crowded. The water is that inviting shade of blue that makes you forget. It is basically a large, indifferent body of physics, and you wade in up to your waist. The water feels good. You push off and swim out a little further, past the point where your toes touch bottom, because you are a competent swimmer, and this is what competent swimmers do. Then you notice something odd. The shore looks further away than it did a moment ago. You swim toward it, and the shore does not get closer. You swim harder. Still nothing. You are in a rip current, a channel of water moving away from the beach faster than you can swim, and your body has just entered the opening chapter of one of the most common and most misunderstood ways human beings die. I am Dr. Morbid. Welcome back to the Case Files. Today we are opening file number 11, Drowning, the death that kills more than 200,000 people worldwide every year. Most of them within a short distance of safety, many of them within sight of people who never realized anything was wrong. Popular culture has taught you that drowning is loud, waving arms, screaming, splashing. Popular culture is wrong, and that error costs lives, so let us go through this properly. First, the medical setup. The World Health Organization defines drowning as respiratory impairment from submersion or immersion in liquid. In plain terms, water gets between you and the air, and your body runs out of oxygen. Here is the part most people do not appreciate. Your urge to breathe is not driven by low oxygen, it is driven by rising carbon dioxide. As you hold your breath, carbon dioxide accumulates in your blood becomes more acidic, and chemoreceptors in your brainstem begin sending increasingly urgent signals to your diaphragm. You can override those signals with willpower for a while. You cannot override them forever. There is a threshold. Physiologists call it the break point, at which your brainstem takes the controls away from you and forces an inhalation, whether your face is above the water or not. Your conscious mind is a passenger for the final portion of this ride. Keep that in mind as we walk through it, stage by stage, in your body. Stage 1. The silent struggle. You are in the rip current. You have tried to swim against it, and you have exhausted yourself doing something that does not work. Your mouth is now dipping below the surface between strokes. Here is what happens next. And it was documented by a lifeguard and researcher named Francesco Pia, who filmed real drownings and identified what he called the instinctive drowning response. You do not wave. You cannot. Your arms extend to the sides and press down on the water, an automatic reflex to lever your mouth above the surface. You do not call for help. You cannot do that either, because speech is a secondary function of the respiratory system, and your respiratory system has been fully reassigned to the primary function, which is getting air. Your body goes vertical in the water. There is no supporting kick. From the beach, you look like someone bobbing quietly, perhaps playing. Pia's research showed that people in this stage remain on the surface for roughly 20 to 60 seconds before going under. Children, less than that. 60 seconds at most of a struggle that makes almost no noise and looks almost like nothing. Stage 2. The breath hold. You slip below the surface. Instinct clamps your throat shut and you hold your breath, which buys you time, though less than you would hope. Under calm conditions, a healthy adult can hold their breath for a minute or more. You are not under calm conditions. You have been fighting a current. Your muscles are burning through oxygen at an accelerated rate, and your carbon dioxide is climbing fast. The sensation, as survivors consistently describe it, begins as pressure in the chest and becomes something closer to fire. Your diaphragm starts to spasm, small, involuntary contractions, your body knocking politely on the door before it kicks the door in. Panic at this stage is not a character flaw. It is chemistry. Your brainstem is flooding you with the strongest alarm signal it possesses. Stage 3. The break point. And here it is. The moment your brainstem overrides you and forces an inhalation. You breathe in water. Survivors describe this instant with remarkable consistency, a burning, tearing pain in the throat and chest, because your airway is lined with receptors that were never meant to encounter liquid. Your body responds with violent coughing and swallowing, which underwater simply moves more water in. In a portion of drownings, the larynx spasms shut in a reflex called laryngospasm, sealing the airway against the water and, unfortunately, against everything else as well. Either way, the outcome is the same. Oxygen has stopped arriving. It typically takes surprisingly little aspirated water to disrupt the lungs. The delicate surfaces where oxygen crosses into your blood are washed with fluid, and gas exchange begins to fail. Stage 4, the calm. This is the stage nobody expects, and it is well documented. As your blood oxygen falls, the panic fades. Survivors of near drowning report the pain receding, a dreamlike detachment settling in. Some describe a feeling of peace, even euphoria, and vivid memories surfacing unbidden. This is not your soul making an exit. This is cerebral hypoxia. Your brain is the most oxygen-expensive organ you own, and as its supply collapses, the circuits responsible for fear and pain are among those that go quiet. Your vision narrows. The urgency dissolves. Within roughly a minute or two of aspirating water, you lose consciousness. From the outside, you are now motionless below the surface. From the inside, there is no longer an inside reporting for duty. Stage 5, cardiac arrest. Without oxygen, the heart's rhythm degrades and stops. Brain cells begin dying in meaningful numbers after roughly 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, which is precisely why every minute of a water rescue matters, and it is also the point at which this stops being your story. Because you are alive, watching this, and medically speaking, this is where the story ends for you. So let us talk about someone it actually happened to, and I have chosen this case carefully because the man who lived it was a physician who took clinical notes on his own drowning. Case file: Dr. James Lowson. In October of 1892, Lowson was a young Scottish doctor working in Hong Kong, sailing home aboard the steamship Bokhara after a cricket tour in Shanghai. Near the Pescadores Islands off Taiwan, the ship sailed into a typhoon and was thrown onto rocks. It sank in minutes. Around 125 people died, including most of the Hong Kong cricket team. Lowson was pulled under with the wreck, and because he was a physician, he later did something almost nobody in history has done. He wrote a precise clinical account of what drowning felt like from the inside, published years afterward in a medical journal. His report matches the stages we just walked through with unsettling accuracy. He described fighting toward the surface, the buildup of unbearable pressure, and then the forced inhalation, which he recorded as a tearing pain in his chest. In his words, the water felt like fire. And then, exactly as modern survivors report, the pain stopped. He described a dreamy tranquility, scenes from his life appearing before him, pleasant ones, before he lost consciousness. He should have died there. Instead, the same violent sea that took him down threw him back up. He surfaced amid the wreckage, was washed toward the rocks, and survived with serious injuries. He returned to Hong Kong, and 2 years later, he led the medical response to the 1894 plague outbreak there. His drowning account remains one of the foundational first-person documents in the medical literature on what this death actually feels like, and it teaches us two things. The stages are real, including the calm at the end, and the line between a fatal drowning and a survival story can be a single wave. So why does this matter to you, sitting safely on dry land? 3 reasons. First, drowning is fast and silent, and the rescue window is measured in seconds and minutes, not in dramatic scenes. If you are watching children in water, that means actual watching, eyes on the water, phone down, because a drowning child can go under in the time it takes to read one text message. In the United States, drowning is the leading cause of unintentional injury death in children aged 1 to 4. Second, the physiology can be beaten with knowledge. If you are caught in a rip current, do not fight it. That is how you reach exhaustion in stage 1. Swim parallel to the shore until you are out of the current, then swim in. If you fall into cold water, know that the first gasp is a reflex called cold shock. So your only job in the first minute is to keep your airway above water and let the gasping pass before you attempt anything else. Third, drowning does not always end at the water. Someone who is rescued and seems fine, but then develops persistent coughing, labored breathing, unusual sleepiness, or confusion in the hours afterward needs medical evaluation because aspirated water can impair the lungs on a delay. Symptoms generally appear within about 8 hours, and this is treatable if it is caught. Which brings us to the card. 3 signs someone near you is drowning right now. 1. Silence. Because a drowning person cannot call for help, so treat a quiet swimmer as more alarming than a loud one. 2. The head tilted back with the mouth at water level, sinking and reappearing, sometimes with hair over the face they never push away. 3. A vertical body with the arms pressing down on the water, sometimes described as climbing an invisible ladder with no supporting kick. 1 intervention, reach or throw. Do not go. Extend a pole, a towel, a branch, or throw anything that floats, because a drowning person in the instinctive response will climb whatever they can reach, including you, and untrained rescuers drown this way with grim regularity. 1 number, 911, or your local emergency number, and call it before you attempt the rescue, not after. And while you have your phone out, if someone you know needs to see this, share it. If you want more case files just like this one, subscribe because Dr. Morbid is just getting started. Case file number 11, drowning. The struggle is silent, the window is 60 seconds, and the calm at the end is real. Dr. Lawson went to the bottom of the South China Sea, took notes, and came back to tell us exactly what waits down there, so the least you can do is remember the signs. File closed.